Alrighty, hi. My name is Emma Gilkerson, and this is my ideal city assignment. This is my city. It's called the City of Locke, in reference to John Locke, and he was a an early British philosopher. Believed in tabula rasa or a blank slate. With men, that they are not born inherently evil, but that they are in fact born as a blank slate and then develop their ideas and tendencies over time. He also was one of the leaders in social contract theory. The idea that we agree to give up certain rights that would lead to anarchy in order to live in a society where we all live together. So thought it was a good name to kind of lead with for my city. But this is the city of Locke. It's got a population of around 240,000 people. And it is 6 miles by 5 miles. So that comes out to a density of around 8,000. But you'll notice that a good part of this is actually green space, so non-inhabited. So I'm guessing that like within the areas that are actually populated, it's going to be a little bit higher, maybe pushing the density up to around 10,000. I was modeling it after Chicago, so a good amount of density, so that people are close to each other and conveniences have that economy of scale so that there's enough people to keep those conveniences and those amenities um, useful and used. Um, so over here we have a really large lake. So I grew up in the Midwest, in Wisconsin, so I loved having the Great Lakes near me. So that's kind of where that inspiration came from. I wanted something akin to a Great Lake near my city, just so that you have that body of fresh water that's constantly available. It creates uses for recreation and just natural beauty. Um, so with that said, I could imagine that this was someplace in the Midwest. I now live in North Carolina just because it's a little bit of a milder temperature. So if this was my ideal world and I was able to put the city wherever I wanted, it would probably be somewhere closer to, a more temperate, warmer area such as North Carolina, but it would have that very large lake. So I'm not sure that place really necessarily exists in the United States. Um, but this is my ideal city, so we're gonna imagine that it does in fact exist. Um, some other parts of interest for this, you see that there is a river cutting through the city. Um, my college town was a river city, and I really enjoyed, walking along that river. I thought that it added just a lot of really interesting parts to the city and places that people were able to interact with nature and with the river itself. So we have this river that leads into this large body of water. You can see that on both sides. I've got some green space, that's to help, mitigate flooding risk and also kind of create that river walk for any individuals that want to participate, and walk along the river as such. While we're talking about green spaces, I'll also note over here, we've got a large piece of forest. This is what I would consider to be some sort of state park is my idea. So I live in the Raleigh area now, and I really love that we have Umstead State Park, right in the middle of the area. Just provides a lot of great green space, for residents to kind of escape the hustle and bustle of the city if needed. So as I'm going through this, I gathered a lot of inspiration from different places that I've lived. Um, so trying to incorporate pieces of the world that I've seen and I've enjoyed into my ideal city. Um, Over here, this gray area, gray was for institutional uses. This one's a little bit bigger, so that was going to be, what I imagined to be a college. I love the idea of a college town. I feel like it adds a lot of vibrancy to the area, and it brings in a lot of really intelligent people and some great jobs. So this over here, that's going to be a college. I'm just looking at my notes quick. Um, Over here, we have more of an industrial area. So I put this right on a railway, and the railway extends through the town, and I would imagine into a different city as well. So I kind of put it going off the map so that it could be imagined that, you know, it's going further and it's connecting this city to other people, places, and things. So that was important to me, that there was that form of transportation that's available for the residents of this city. But here we have some more hard industrial work happening, and I've got a couple little port area over here onto the lake. So I'm imagining that the lake is big enough and that it could sustain some sort of travel throughout it. So we've got some little port area here. Um, Across from that, we also have this entertainment district. So I've got a couple different um, areas that people can go out into the water here as well on those piers. So, you know, we've got the industrial use over here, but then also that use over here, people being able to enjoy the water and enjoy this area for more of a recreational use. All throughout the city, you see these little kind of bluish dots. So that would be what I would imagine to be what I would prefer to have a subway line for my city. So there's a subway, you can see that it connects to that major rail here and here. So that'd be 2 stops. But then you've also got, you know, different stops throughout the entire city. That connect the city, and hopefully people don't have to travel too far to get to one of those areas. They connect at different places, and then around those, you know, I've seen in different areas that have kind of those transportation hubs, that you see a lot of commerce building around those. So around those, kind of each one, we have some sort of, you know, neighborhood type commerce. I'm almost picturing like a mini downtown in each of these. So, you know, it kind of gets built out around those. And then around those, of course, you have some slightly more dense housing as compared to this yellow here. So this yellow is that single residency housing. And then this would be, you know, multifamily, duplexes, apartments, what have you. So those are kind of, you know, built out around those transportation hubs as well. Once you get past a little bit of the neighborhood commercial aspect. And then here in the middle, we have big kind of central commerce area downtown. So you've got high-rise apartments, and then we also have this light purple, so that's going to be offices, and then that red is more of a commercial area as well. So I'm imagining that this is, you know, kind of the center of the city. People are able to work here, they live here, and they're able to shop here as well. There are some commercial aspects in these neighborhoods as well, just not as many as you would imagine in a more of a neighborhood type setting. Over in this entertainment district, if we come back to it, of course, we have those piers, we've got a couple transportation hubs, and then we've also got red for commerce and some orange for high rises. So again, this is kind of all in one, but I imagine that there would be some sort of, you know, maybe a sport arena. We've got a park here that's available for people. We've got the shore and this larger park here as well. So it's really focusing more on an entertainment district. We've got our shopping malls as well, or some sort of commercial aspect in here with those high rises. And then in here, we've got that lighter purple, so that's going to be more office spaces. And then you've got a light brown. So that's going to be that light industrial use. I did include here this little box of light industrial use. In my mind, I'm imagining that is going to be an airport of some sort. I put some green space around it just to mitigate, you know, any noise impacts that people would have in their neighborhoods. So this is more of an office area. You're not going to have as many people living here, but you have some of that light industrial use. And again, we have a transportation hub that leads right to it. Tied to these transportation hubs, you'll see these white lines. So those white lines are going to be bike lanes. It was important for me to have, multiple forms of transportation that did not rely on vehicles. So I know a lot of countries and a lot of cities have had great success with bike lanes. So I really wanted to incorporate that in here so that people could really rely on biking if they chose to. And going back to, if this is living in a more temperate area where there's not a lot of snow impacts, this is a lake, not the ocean, so hopefully not as many hurricane impacts. Um, so really, it would be ideal if people could, bike all year round, with minimal disruption. Um, so you'll see that with those white lines, that those kind of go all over the city. We do have these black lines, which would be more of the traditional roadway. So, it's important that I think that there are roadways, even if we're trying to ebb away from those and have other forms of transportation. That's just not going to be feasible for everybody. If you have people coming from out of town, that they need their car for some reason. So there are cars here. You can see it kind of makes up a grid pattern throughout the city. But along every one of those, you can see there's smaller ones here. These are kind of the main ones, the bigger grid, and then we have a smaller grid going throughout. But you can see that each one is mirrored by a bike lane. So really, we just always want that to be an option. I imagine also that there are, of course, more roadways throughout here, but I was not able to get, that level of detail without completely overwhelming this map. But they tend to be close to anything you would need. So they're close to the smaller institutional areas. So I imagine those could be elementary, high schools. This one is a little bit bigger. That could be the city center, government buildings. But we're trying to keep, roadways available for those bigger things. So, they cut through parks. They're by these shopping district areas, which is in red. Those would be some sort of mall, or strip mall or something like that. But, roads are available, but we're really trying to focus on people using that subway, people using those bike lanes if at all possible. I think that's about it for this. We've got a smaller lake over here. But yeah, this is my ideal city. I hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, please let me know.